In California in 2017, Val loves to play a first-person shooter called Field of Fire. She's very good at it, and her nickname, Speedrun, is famous in gaming circles. Her dream is to win a tournament and become a professional. One morning, her father, Carlos, reminds her that he called in a favor to get her a job interview with his brother, pointing out how important this is because she hasn't had a job for months. He asks her to pick up her grandmother from the doctor's when she's done, and Val reluctantly agrees. Val leaves the house in nice clothes for her interview, but this is a trick. Her boyfriend, Evan, is waiting for her outside, and Val changes into casual clothes as soon as she gets in his car. Evan thinks Val shouldn't be skipping an interview to go to a video game tournament, but Val says she'll just call in sick. The prize is $10,000, so if she wins, she can finally go pro. Unfortunately, Evan has bad news. The best player in the community will also be participating. When they make it to the arena, everyone is already going crazy over Roy, also known as Kilohertz. He's been People's Choice for Gamer of the Year and has appeared on magazine covers. Even the commentators are sure he'll win. Val is desperate to defeat him, but Evan reminds her she's not here to win. She's here to qualify. The game begins, and Evan is the only one cheering for Val. She's the first player to get a kill and put points on the board, but Roy suddenly appears from across the map and starts stealing her kills. Sometimes he stops playing just to high-five his fans and even covers his eyes while playing just to show off. Val doesn't give up and continues to give her best until she and Roy are tied. With only a few seconds left on the clock, Val has an opponent in front of her and has the chance to kill them to win. However, she sees Roy nearby and starts chasing him to get a glory kill. To her shock, Roy's character disappears from the screen and reappears behind hers to kill her, winning the tournament. On her way out, Val keeps ranting about Roy, not understanding how he could pull off movements that are faster than human reaction. Evan tries to bring the mood up by pointing out she's made it to the finals, but Val thinks it's useless if she can't beat Roy. Speaking of Roy, he approaches Val and mocks her for a few minutes before leaving to take selfies with his fans. While Evan goes to get the car, Val is approached by Kojima, who congratulates her on her playing today, but points out she'll lose tomorrow. He claims to be a fairy grandmother and gives her his card, saying that if she wants to win, she'll need his help. Kojima also confirms that Val was right about Roy. Nobody can humanly be that good. When Val gets home, Carlos asks about the interview, and she pretends it was fine. But he talked to his brother and knows she didn't even show up. She didn't pick up her grandmother either, and Carlos almost lost his job because he had to do it himself. He announces Val will have the interview tomorrow, so she tries to tell him about the finals, which are her dream and also could bring good money. However, Carlos says this isn't about money. It's about Val lying to him and only thinking about herself. This makes Val snap, saying that she doesn't want a crappy life or job like his, and that she understands why her mother left. Afterward, Val opens a job application on her computer, but ends up switching it to a gaming stream. Worried about Roy, she takes Kojima's card and decides to visit the address. She finds a place called the Gold Saucer, which turns out to be a gaming cafe. Kojima doesn't even say hi, he just makes her sit and play. Val picks a bullet hell game at its highest difficulty, so she loses in seconds. Then Kojima tells her to take a sip of Impulse 9, which Val thinks is an energy drink. When he opens the bottle, the fizzing sound makes everyone in the room turn to look at him. Kojima promises it's a normal drink and pours it into the cap for her. When Val drinks it, she feels her brain completely changing. Her senses are heightened, and her reaction time reaches an incredible speed. Now, she can beat the hard game without losing a single life. Moments later, Val snaps out of the effects and finds herself at a table with Kojima, who explains that Impulse 9 stretches time. The harder it's stretched, the harder it snaps back, and Val was out for an hour. He can sell her a bottle of Impulse 9 for $500. But that's all the money Val has left. Not to mention, it would be cheating. Kojima points out that Roy doesn't think it's wrong and takes his call to sell him more Impulse. After seeing all the high scores she achieved with just a sip, she decides to buy it. The next day, Val takes a sip of Impulse 9 before the tournament starts. Time slows down for her as the game begins, and she can kill opponents without breaking a sweat. Unfortunately, Roy keeps drinking Impulse 9 and soon catches up to her, quickly passing her by a few points. Soon, the effects of Impulse 9 end for Val, who is so desperate to win that she ends up drinking the whole bottle. With her fastest reflexes yet, Val kills Roy's character and wins the tournament. The effects of so much Impulse 9 last much longer, and Val wakes up to find herself in the year 2029 AI, which means after Impulse. She's living in an old, dirty house with 3 children who call her Mommy, and the shock makes her throw up. When her husband, Evan, tries checking on her, she runs outside and discovers this is a post-apocalyptic future, with people living on the streets and using chemical toilets. Evan runs after her to give her a gas mask before reminding the kids that it's time to study. While the couple takes the kids to school, Evan reminds Val of their chores. They take turns scavenging the wastelands and being on gate duty. One of the children picks up dried dog poop, thinking it's a neat rock, and asks Val to save it so she can have it back after class. School turns out to be a teacher with a few tables in the middle of the street. The teacher tells the kids that if they see a death lizard, they must run and hide. Val wants to talk to Evan about this strange situation, but she's interrupted by a neighbor calling her sheriff. The woman explains another neighbor snapped back from Impulse last night and doesn't remember the last 8 years of his life. Deputy Dan drags that man out of his tent and calls him a pulsar, causing Evan to insult the guy. It turns out pulsars are people who drank too much Impulse and became useless, which caused the apocalypse. The president was also a pulsar and snapped back with his finger on the nuke button. Evan wants to beat the guy up, but Dan stops him and asks Val for orders since the guy has no useful skills. Still confused, Val tells Dan to kick the man out. Afterward, Evan wants to know what Val wanted to talk about, but Val doesn't want to be kicked out, so she pretends she just has a stomachache. Evan reveals that they ate beetles last night, while Dan pushes the pulsar out of town and closes the gate. At that moment, the weather alarm goes off and everyone puts on their gas masks. Later at home, Val is freaking out because she doesn't know what to do with a baby. She thinks of calling her father for help, but he's already dead, and his ashes are in an urn nearby. Val reminds herself she's a strong champion to pull herself together before she's called by Dan, who reminds her it's time for latrine duty. Apparently, in this future, Val is a sheriff, a sanitation commissioner, a scavenger, and a mom, all at the same time. While Val is outside, Evan asks her if she wants to have another baby. Val chokes on her own spit at the suggestion and quickly says no. Evan looks disappointed but tells her it's okay. At that moment, a group of bandits arrives, and Val quickly gets into her role as sheriff. She warns them that she'll shoot if they come any closer, but they mock her for using a bow and arrows instead of a gun. However, they do stop approaching. Val demands to know what they want, and the leader, Steele, says they're looking for work. Dan wants to kill them right away, but Val remembers they just lost a man and that the newcomers may have skills. She asks them what they can do, but the bandits hesitate before replying with jobs like strong man and human lie detector. Just when she's about to refuse them, one of the men, Wiseblood, says he can fix solar panels. Val immediately hires him and sends the rest away. Later at night, Val tries to gather more information and finds out that Impulse 9 was made by Kojima's group. They knew the drug stretched time and caused snapbacks, but they still sold it to make money. Val still can't believe she missed 8 years of her life. She checks her belongings and finds out she has a journal, which she opens to check her past. Inside, she finds a drawing of herself and Evan with a note that says, "Love is not a speed run." The next morning, Val goes out with Dan to scavenge. The wastelands are full of abandoned cars, but Val finds something even better, a long-range radio. She gets very excited and runs to tell Evan about it, thinking she can contact Kojima and return to her time. Before she can do anything, a huge explosion erupts in town. Val and Dan return quickly, only to find the houses on fire. A bandit gang is attacking the town, and Wiseblood turns out to be a traitor. He deactivated the defense system and let them in. Val tries to help, but she's not used to real-life combat. She's slow, clumsy, and gets shot in the leg. Evan saves her, dragging her to safety. The town is destroyed, and the survivors gather what they can. Val is devastated, especially because she knows her children died in the fire. She wakes up later, tied to a chair in Steele's camp. He mocks her for being a pulsar and not knowing how things work. Steele then reveals his plan. He wants to sell her to the strongest warlord in the region. Just when things seem hopeless, Dan shows up, disguised as one of the bandits. He unties Val and helps her escape. Val and Dan return to town, where Evan and the survivors are waiting. Evan is angry and doesn't understand why Val is acting so weird. Val, realizing she's about to make another mistake, takes his hands and tells him the truth. She's not really from this time. Evan doesn't believe her at first, but Val shows him the radio and explains her plan. She wants to contact Kojima and find a way back. Evan, heartbroken, asks if she'd really leave them behind. Val hesitates. She's not sure anymore. At that moment, Dan interrupts and tells them to check the horizon. Steele and his bandits are coming back, this time with a larger army. Val knows they won't survive another attack. She makes a choice. She'll stay and fight. Evan, touched by her decision, kisses her and tells her they'll protect their home together. The battle begins. This time, Val fights differently. She moves fast, not because of Impulse 9, but because she's learned to adapt. She uses strategy, setting traps, and working with the townspeople to outsmart the bandits. In the end, they win. Steele is defeated, and the town is safe. But Val knows this isn't over. She still wants answers. She uses the radio and finally contacts Kojima. His voice comes through laughing. "Welcome to the future, Speed Run." Val grips the radio tightly. She's not done yet. Val grips the radio tightly, her heart pounding as Kojima's voice crackles through the static. "Welcome to the future, Speed Run," he repeats, his tone laced with amusement. Val demands answers, asking him why he created Impulse 9 and how she can get back to her own time. Kojima chuckles and tells her there's no way back. Impulse 9 only works forward, not in reverse. The realization crushes Val, but she refuses to accept it. She pleads with Kojima, reminding him that she lost everything, but he coldly replies that everyone who took Impulse 9 made their own choice. Evan and Dan watch from a distance, not fully understanding the conversation, but sensing Val's desperation. Evan steps forward, placing a hand on Val's shoulder, silently reassuring her that he's still there. Kojima offers one final piece of advice. If Val wants to survive in this world, she needs to stop clinging to the past and start living in the present. With that, the radio falls silent. Val feels a wave of hopelessness wash over her, but Evan's touch grounds her. She realizes Kojima is right. There's no going back. As the sun rises over the scorched wasteland, Val makes a vow to protect her family and rebuild their home. The townspeople gather around her, looking to her for leadership. Despite her doubts, Val steps into her role as sheriff, organizing supply runs, fortifying defenses, and teaching others how to fight. Days turn into weeks, and the town slowly begins to recover. Val grows close to her children, bonding with them in ways she never thought possible. She tells them stories about the world before the collapse and teaches them how to play video games on the old console powered by Evan's bicycle. One night, as the family sits around a small fire, Val watches her children laughing and playing. For the first time since she woke up in this strange future, she feels at peace. Evan notices the change in her and quietly tells her he's proud of the woman she's become. Val smiles, finally understanding that she was always meant to be here, not as a champion gamer, but as a mother, wife, and protector. As the months pass, Val's legend grows. People begin calling her speedrun again, not because of her gaming skills, but because of how quickly she adapted to the harsh realities of this world. The town thrives under her leadership, becoming a beacon of hope in the desolate wasteland. One morning, while patrolling the perimeter, Val finds a small package wrapped in cloth near the gate. Inside is a single bottle of Impulse 9 and a note from Kojima that reads, "One last chance." Val stares at the bottle, the temptation gnawing at her. She could take it and escape this world, but she knows now that her place is here. Without hesitation, she smashes the bottle on the ground and walks away, leaving the past behind once and for all. Val returns to her family, ready to face whatever challenges the future holds. She may not be the hero she once dreamed of becoming, but in this broken world, she's exactly the hero they need.